Welcome to the Latin Wealth Podcast, a podcast dedicated to educating the Latino community about entrepreneurship, investing, and business.
Yo, what's going on, Latin Wealth family? Welcome to another episode to Wealth Wednesday, a weekly show where we come on here and we talk about things that are going on in the world that pertains to the Latino community. And this is created by two Latinos. And I'm super excited to get into today's episode because we got a special episode that we want to hit on today. And so a little bit about today's episode is, if you listen to this podcast, you know that I love traveling. Jeremiah has done a lot of traveling and will continue to do a lot of traveling, right? So with that being said, my wife and I are actually currently in the beautiful country of Panama. And so on this episode, not only do we want to talk about how great the country is, but why it's so important to the world, right? So we're going to give you guys a little history lesson and give you guys some facts about Panama that, we were just talking before we hit record, and it's one of those countries that's extremely important to the world, and it may not be something that people know very much about, right? So with that being said, my brother Jeremiah, how you doing today, bro?
I'm doing good, bro. Happy that you guys had landed. Happy that everything is going well. Obviously, with you traveling and stuff like that, man, and you're having a great time. So I'm good. I think this is going to be super informative today.
Yeah, 100%. So first off, thank you for that. First time in Panama, love it, highly recommend it. One of the most developed countries in Central America, without a doubt. I was telling Jeremiah, you're driving into the city and it looks like you're driving into Miami or you're driving into New York. They got the skyscrapers, they got the beautiful buildings, they got the great food, hot weather, and it's dope because they got a little bit of everything for somebody, right? If you want the skyrise view over the water, the modern look, they got that. If you want the old town vibe, you go to Casa Viejo and you get like the local feel as well. So I know you've been as well when you were younger. We had a great time out there. I actually got my Panama soccer jersey on right now. So fun fact, what I try to do in every country I go to, I try to pick up a local soccer jersey, you know what I'm saying, just to collect them. But I know you've been. Talk to us about your experience being in Panama.
Panama was beautiful. Just the actual coastal cities. I guess you could say it's almost on not a peninsula. It's an isthmus, right? Because Central America's a little piece of strip, but beautiful on both sides. And Panama City itself is super active, super vibrant, right? I enjoyed, this is a while back, but nightlife was great. The food is phenomenal. Yep. And I was just really surprised by the amount of financial centers and financial businesses and things that have not headquarters, but have hubs there in Panama, transportation, logistical companies. And so a financial hub for sure. So that was surprising, but yeah.
Yeah. Love it. So let's dive into it. Let's talk about what Panama is globally known for, right? So if you guys don't know, if you're living under a rock, the Panama Canal, which is what Panama is known for, revolutionized international trade by making it easier, quicker for cargo ships to travel through from pretty much the Atlantic Ocean, Caribbean into the Pacific Ocean, right? So just a little history about it. In the 19th century, the French tried to build the Panama Canal. They tried for, I think 8 to 10 years or something like that, and they failed bad. It just was dark times. A lot of people passed away, unfortunately. I think they said up to 20,000 people passed away during that time. And it was also the results of bad engineering. So when you look at the strip of land that they were trying to carve out, their mentality was they're just trying to go in there like a piece of cake and cut out a slice of the land and just lift it up And that did not work at all. Ended up, like I said, it ended up killing a lot of people. A lot of people got sick. So the U.S. seen this and they wanted to build a more efficient passage that will help again from getting people from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. And really, maybe Jeremiah, you can hit on this, but their way of engineering was pretty genius. And I mean, it was like they were ahead of their time for when they created this canal. But before they were able to do that, Panama was the Republic of Colombia. So at this time, Colombia wasn't allowing anybody to build on that land. So long story short, the U.S. had to help Panama gain its independence, which they gained their independence in 1903. And then in 1904, Panama gave the U.S. control of a 10-mile piece of land where they can start building the canal. And then we'll jump back into it, but the U.S. basically owned this territory until about 1999, where it was given back to Panama. So very interesting stuff. Like we were talking about, Panama is extremely important because if you think about just for the folks that were in the Atlantic Ocean, if you think of like Spain or Portugal, if they wanted to get their cargo ships to the other side of America or to even Japan or China or something like that, they would either have to go all the way under South America, or they would have to try to navigate their way through Antarctica. Right, those are the only two routes. But with the canal, it created a shortcut, so people can just cut right through and go either way from west to east.
Yeah, I mean, you have to think about 1900s, the technology and what was around back then. But in order to do this, I mean, they were dealing with socio-economic things and environmental aspects as well. Like you said, the French, most of them died from malaria. Then it was bad engineering, right? Then they couldn't get the parts. They couldn't get peace logistically. It was bad. It was just a horrible timing. But then when you build it, it still takes time and it takes ingenuity, which America had because they had the best engineers. And so they actually sat back and strategically thought about how to shore up the land, how they would actually raise it and move the water, the volume of water. Like it took a whole bunch of actual thinking. So they had several different type of engineers and thought processes. And then, it was successful. Took years though. Took 12 years.
Yeah, took a long time.
Yeah, that's a long time to build something, man. That's rough, and then, but to see it and then see it be successful and then bringing cultures together. Because like you said, you got China, Japan, all of the Oceania countries, which is Australia, Fiji, all those different, Polynesian, all of that is separated from the other side. And then also from the Caribbean islands and stuff like that, because Caribbean islands were great for a source for spice, sugar cane, right? Which sugar was almost like gold back in the day. And so it's multiple factors of things and reasons why you would want to be able to connect the two, the trade route, and then America controlling that, what do you call it? The canal zone. That's super lucrative. I was just thinking about that, Chris. Think
100%.
about somebody like it's a little strip of land, but that strip of land generates the revenue, like the GDP of some small countries. Like, just, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Like that's wild to me. Like and then you said that they convinced Panama to separate from Colombia to become independent. Like there's so much going on just to get that strip of land.
Yeah,
that's just wild.
No, it is wild, and I will say, I mean, come on, we have to give it up to USA for creating. I mean, the engineering. If you maybe we'll post a video over this video if you're watching it on YouTube, but I would encourage you to go look at how the Panama Canal actually works. Right, you would think that again the French just try to come in here and just cut out a piece of land like a piece of cake, but it doesn't work like that because you cut out any piece of land, water's just going to come rushing in, right? So you have to find a way to balance that when ships are passing through. So I would highly recommend that you guys go check out a full video on that, or we'll put a video here in this podcast. But yeah, it's phenomenal. I mean, look, to be honest, USA, they knew what they were doing. They
Yeah, they
knew
did.
that it was right below, their country. They can get things a lot they can get things over a lot quicker. They knew
Yeah.
they were going to make a lot of money from it. They held it up until 1999.
Yeah.
You said it took about 12 years to make, so you talking about maybe 1916, 1915 it was completed. They
Yeah.
held it all the way until 1999. They knew what they were doing with that.
Yeah, and you generated tons of money and you controlled it basically. And so people said, well, they just controlled the canal, but Panama is the Panama Canal. And so
Mhm.
America essentially owned Panama. I mean, they had their own things that were going on, but America was so prevalent in Panama until they basically owned Panama, you know.
100%.
Yeah.
When you come here to Panama, the main currency is the US dollar.
US dollar. It's been that way.
The coins that they use are their local Panamanian coins, I believe. Panamanian
Something,
coin or the
yeah,
peso.
in a lot of places.
Yeah, but
Panama City, you're gonna find some quarter. It's just like,
yeah, 100%.
yeah,
It's all US dollar. Everybody using the US dollar out there. So pretty incredible. Just being out there and just kind of like touching the city, walking around. It's it's not something that you really learn about, I mean, in school at all. So to come down here, travel and learn about this country in Central America was phenomenal. It's crazy because there's so many people passing through that I was talking to a local. He's like, yeah, a lot of people, they're always passing through from different countries. They just end up staying here.
yep,
So I remember going to a local store every single morning. I wake up, I go downstairs, and I go get me some water and some fruit or whatever. And the dude that owns the shop is a Chinese dude, but
yeah,
speaks phenomenal English, like talking about Buenos dias, papi. And I'm
yeah,
like, dude is Asian. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And it's
yeah,
incredible. You know what I'm saying? You see that everywhere. People, they may look American, but you hear them speak and their Spanish is just immaculate. So you're like,
yeah,
where are you from? But
right.
the point is like, people are passing through all the time and, people stay there, people continue with their journey. So, yeah, it was pretty trippy to see, honestly.
Yeah, you see a lot of that. Workers that were working to help build the canal, and then their families just stayed there for generations. It's weird you said that because, like, I was thinking about in Puerto Rico, it's the same way.
Mm-hmm.
You go to the Chinese food spots or whatever, and they're Chinese, but they speak Spanish just like a Puerto
Yeah,
Rican.
yeah,
It'll blow
100%.
your mind. But yeah, I mean, it's the culture is mixed in that place, and then the canal just did so much for the economy, even outside of the zone, but just did so much to bring different type of cultures. Then you had when the cultures fused together, right? Panama is kind of like a melting pot in Central
Mm-hmm.
America. It's hard
Mm-hmm.
to find that much diversity anywhere else in that region.
100%. When you're speaking about culture and when you're speaking about people that built the Panama Canal, a lot of people came from Jamaica
Yeah,
and different islands and whatnot.
yeah,
And something that they brought as well to Panama was reggae dancehall music, right? So the importance of Panama doesn't just end with the Panama Canal. They're known for that, but their music, the people are phenomenal out there, great people, beautiful people inside and out. Their food is great, but also culturally their music as well. So transitioning a little bit, something else that they're known for is there's been a long arguments of the birthplace of
to
reggaeton.
tell the truth. Well,
Let's
yeah.
talk about it.
Uh, so let's say it like this. Panama initiated with reggae in Espanol,
Yes.
right? So reggae in Espanol is a variation of reggae and dancehall, right? El General, you had other people that kind of did, and and so they say that was the initiation of reggaeton because when you in Puerto Rico, it was obviously underground and things.
Mm-hmm.
And when you hear the initial old like playero and stuff like that in Puerto Rico, the very original reggaeton, they're singing it like reggae. And it's to a same beat. They call it the dembo beat. It's to that same beat, right? That Jamaican beat.
Yeah.
And so they say it actually started in Panama, but Panama started reggae
Yeah.
and Espanol. But they say, well, we started, and I give them credit. Yeah, you initiated it. But Puerto Rico obviously took it, made it something completely
Yeah.
their own, So
So here's my
yeah,
thought. Here's my thoughts about it. So um all three countries have a huge play in making reggaeton. Panama, Jamaica, and Puerto Rico. All
okay,
three of them, right?
okay,
So essentially, from the research I was doing, is when people from Jamaica went to Panama,
uh-huh.
they were singing the reggae dancehall music, but nobody
Right,
could really understand them. So that's
right,
where, like you said, they switched it into speaking Spanish.
mm-hmm.
And from our understandings, Puerto Ricans picked up on it, and not only did they pick up on the reggae and the Spanish influence, but they also added like the hip hop aspect to it as well, which I think is a big component of it.
Mm-hmm. I think, yeah. I mean, and everybody's gonna have different. It depends on where you're from, right? Because there'll be Puerto Ricans from New York that listen to reggaeton now or whatever, right? But they really weren't into it then. They were into hip hop, so they'll say Vico C was more what they list. Like, there's all these different plays off of it. I've never heard Jamaicans say that they, other than the beat, right? Like the
No,
drum pattern. But
yeah,
I've never heard Jamaicans say that's their music. Like I got Jamaican friends. I've never
no,
heard
for
them.
sure.
But Panamanians and us, it's like this
Yeah,
big thing, right? Because they're like, no, we started it, and I mean, I have to admit they did start reggae in Espanol. So and it's the progression, right? Let's be honest. It's kind of like how do you say it? Okay, let's make this relatable to some people, right? There is hip hop, right? There's hip hop that would initially start in the late 70s in the Bronx, right? Sugar Hill Gang, stuff like that. There was that, right? And we know what it was. It moved into the early 80s, right? And then you transformed in late 90s, early 2000s, and you start hearing Jeezy stuff like that. That was trap music,
mm-hmm,
T.I., right?
mm-hmm.
So then
It
a
evolved.
subgenre, which was trap. It's
Mm-hmm.
the right, and now there's
West Coast
drill music,
drill music,
right?
West Coast Bay Area.
Drill, right. So there's all these different subgenres of the original.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like if we just say the original was Rey en Español, reggaeton, it's just a child of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's its own thing.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And so while I'll say that probably Panama didn't directly create it because they didn't, but they definitely, without reggae en español, then you wouldn't have reggaeton. So
A
that's
hundred
true.
percent. A
Yeah, it's
hundred
a child
percent.
of it.
So yeah, I mean to bring it back to the top again, Panama is known for the Panama Canal, but also for their cultural influence as well. And you see it. Like when I went out there, I mentioned to you Casa Viejo
Mm-hmm.
reminds me of Viejo San Juan, like very
Yeah,
similar. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? The people, the food, similar food. Obviously there's some differences and whatnot, but it's pretty crazy to see how you travel around different countries and you see how much we're alike more than we are different.
for sure. For sure. The Caribbean culture is definitely strong in Panama.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, the food, the ideal, even if you listen to the dialect, the Spanish that they speak is very similar to us in the Caribbean because we all have a different way we speak, right? So yeah, it's very similar. We're
Yeah.
definitely all in the family. It's like cousins.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so Panama, very important to not only Central America, the United States, but to the world in general, the world economy. Without the Panama Canal, we would still be traveling long distances. And you can see, and I actually was actually doing some research, and I seen once they created the Panama Canal, Argentina's economy just
Yeah.
tanked a little bit. Well, not even
Yeah.
a little bit, a lot,
Yeah.
because the ships where they were going, around Argentina and Chile and all that.
Chile as well. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So they took a hit with their economy, but it's pretty incredible to see. It's almost fascinating to see, like, if it was not there, how would it be like how will we be traveling around, right? You know, and
I mean, I'll be honest. So it's a give and take. This is my opinion. It's a give and take. So if the Panama Canal never would have worked, then we would have had to develop logistically to use bigger planes.
mm,
That's what would end up happening because you couldn't stay not moving freight right across that range. You just would have created much bigger planes. We don't need that, right? I mean, it's less pollution. You probably have less pollution because of the Panama Canal. So to look at like sustainability of the earth and things, this is like really just thinking it out loud.
yeah,
But you would
oil
end up
spills
having
and
to
all
do
that.
it. Yeah, I mean, because if it wouldn't have happened, we still would be moving around stuff. We would have just had to do it in a different way. We still would have moved stuff. We just would have had to do it differently.
It's interesting that you said airplanes. We would have had to build bigger airplanes. I
Bigger
mean,
planes, yeah, for freight, and then that would have polluted. If you're into something like I don't believe in all that. I mean, it's obvious more people with more pollution. So it just would have been different. And so in a way, it advanced us obviously for that time, but then it also holds you back because we still use the Panama Canal today. We might have had new planes or something like that. So it's that's what I mean. Like it's kind of a give and take. But obviously back then, right when it was brought in, it was revolutionary.
hey, I'll say this. I mean, no, that's very interesting that you say that, but I mean, obviously it's efficient for us enough that we're not building the planes now, right?
Well, I think we're just comfortable. I think it's something, and then it's a part of an economy, right? It's like that's kind of like the war on drugs. You remove all the drugs, then
Mm-hmm.
people lose jobs. So that's kind of But I think it was just something that we built into our economy. We
Mm-hmm.
built around it, and it's been something now that we're comfortable with. So we'll see. But I mean, there's no point to change now. It's not
Yeah,
broken. So
yeah,
what's the point? It
100%.
works.
Love it. Anything else about Panama before we had here? Like we said, we wanted to come in here and give you guys some background
And
information. Yep,
we
go
didn't
ahead.
even touch on like the real stuff. There's a
Oh yeah.
whole different.
I mean,
There's
we
a whole
can.
side.
Yeah, I mean, look,
Yeah.
we can only talk about so much within 30 minutes. Like, even there's
Right.
documentaries about
There
the
is.
Panama Canal and like in itself. But
Right.
I mean, give us like two of those points that you want to hit on real quick.
No, no, I wasn't even talking about the canal. I was talking about Panama itself. There's
Yeah,
a
no, talk
whole,
about. Let's do it.
just like the Nicaraguan Contra era, which was the
Mm-hmm.
late '70s, early '80s, with the American government and utilizing Panama to try to basically train
Mm-hmm.
the Contras, which were fighting in Nicaragua.
Mm-hmm.
In that war that we were fighting there, and then Panama, Manuel Noriega taking over in Panama. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's a deep thing. It's a whole
Yeah.
thing. Like trafficking drugs. If anyone's seen Snowfall, then they know where I'm headed. That show is essentially that whole era, like what was happening in Central America, and then how America's involvement and all that.
You said Snowfall?
Snowfall.
Okay, I have to check that out. I mean, I've heard of it, but I haven't.
Yeah. No, yeah. If you watch that show, if anyone has ever watched Snowfall, you know exactly what it is that I'm talking about with Franklin. Like that's what I mean. It's much deeper than that. America played a role in shaping that entire region. Colombia as well with the drugs and it's there's a lot there. And
Mm,
Panama plays a big place in it because of Manuel Noriega. So that's something to look up. That's what I would say.
100%. I mean, each one of these topics that we brought up, we can probably do an hour episode on.
For sure. For
You know what I'm
sure.
saying? So very interesting stuff. Anything else before we head out of here? Again, we wanted to give you guys an overview of, the importance of Panama. I mean, obviously you can go down a rabbit hole and explore different things that Jeremiah was talking about from the music, from, how, America helped shape Central America and Colombia, as you're saying and whatnot. But anything else before we had here?
No, other than to travel to Panama and experience the beauty for yourself, it'll probably become one of your favorite places to visit.
100%. And with that being said, it's the Latin Walls family. Go ahead and share this episode with one other person that needs to hear this information. And we'll catch you guys next week. Peace.